Alright, welcome to my channel and to this video, everybody. Glad you are here. Today we're going to be taking a look at this rusty hitch. If you are watching this video, you probably have one. And we're going to be taking care of this, cleaning it up and getting rid of the rust, at least temporarily. And I'll show you how I do it and how I like to do it every 2 years or so. My experience is you can't completely get rid of rust once it's started, so the idea here is to contain it. So let's get started. Keep in mind, I'm just a DIYer. I'm no professional at all, so this is just my own kind of solution to stay in control of the rust situation and make my vehicles look a little better. Now, we live in an area where there's lots of snow, so the underside of the vehicle gets pretty rusty, so there's not really anything you can do about that, or that I'm willing to do. But here's what my process is. You can see here I am starting off by scraping with a wire brush, and I'll put links down below in the description for everything that you see and will need for this job. But you basically scrape off all the flaking paint or anything that just might be on there in terms of large debris. I'm working on 2 vehicles in this video, so let's go ahead and back out. I actually keep the hitch pin in, and I've got this little plastic plug over the receiver you can see year round, and that rusts out as well. And maybe that's not, your preferred way, but I like to keep that plug in there because I don't want things getting in there. Plus I like the way it looks a little better. It looks like a sealed receiver, right? As opposed to just having this 2-inch hole kind of in the back of your vehicle at all times, so to speak. So I like to keep the plug in there, but you can see we've got some rust. So what we're doing is taking the 4-pin trailer cable here, and we're going to back that out and just kind of move it to the side if you do indeed have one that you can move. So it's kind of a little stuck here, but you can kind of wiggle this through and around, and we're just going to remove that. So the process is just scrub off all the debris and the flaky paint, like I said, and then we're going to get some cleaner and just wash the heck out of it and let that dry. Now, if you've got a hose and some soapy, like if you're washing your car, for example, would be a great time to do this. Wear a mask too if you're going to be scraping off anything. I don't like the idea of breathing this stuff in. On a windy day outside, it's probably fine, but if you're like in your garage, mask up, because obviously it's not stuff that you want to inhale, right? So you can see we've got some rust on the underside of the receiver there. So I'm scrubbing and I am spraying. Now, this spray, you could use like Dawn's soap, but like I said, but I've got some like special degreaser stuff. It's called Crud Cutter, I think, and I use that because I don't know exactly what's on here, so I want something that will indeed cut away some of the grease a little bit. So you could do that first, and then put some Dawn soap and water in there, and just get it as clean as possible, right? The idea is that if you're going to be fixing this, you need it clean, and I'll explain why here in just a minute. But basically we're going to be creating a bond between some new it's not really paint, I'll show you what I use here in a second, but for that to form a bond, it needs to be as clean as possible. Now, the end of my actual hitch, you can see, not the hitch but the towing package here, the ends are rusting and chipping a little bit on the right side and all the way on the left side as well, along with some general rust happening underneath. And I don't need to get crazy about this, meaning I don't need to get it 100% perfect. You can see the paint kind of peeling right there and chipping away. So meaning I don't have to, it's a rabbit hole, right? If you start picking it, you can keep picking it and keep picking it and keep picking it, kind of thing. So you just kind of want to get it as smooth as possible. That's what I like to do. And again, clean it up. So any obvious breakage or chipping, you can, get that, remove that. And I, in this case, am going to be scrubbing off my pin that keeps my receiver for my hitch, for that little plastic cap that we saw earlier. Scrubbing that off and cleaning that off. If you are doing this with a wire brush, put on some gloves. You don't want to get poked with the wire brush. I poked myself and it's not pleasant. So that wire brush is pretty strong. They don't have much flexibility. They're like little knives. So, and obviously we're getting off as much rust particles as possible. You could wet scrub that as well. So you actually use the cleaner and do it so it's not lifting up, putting particles into the air, making it airborne, right? If you don't have a mask handy. So we're just kind of cleaning up the cap as well. Now this stuff, it's rust reformer is what it's called, and you can pick this up. I think I got this at the local hardware store, but you can buy it online as well. $5 or $6 a can, I think. And I prefer the black color. You can buy like a rust primer. It's gray, but I wanted it to obviously match the color of my hitch. So just black and black, and you can see what I'm doing here. Just a light coat over all the area, and that's going to help contain the rust. Like I said, for a year or two, you can kind of assess at the end of a year's time, and you might see some rust kind of protruding. But I've done this for several cycles, so to speak, on this vehicle, so you can kind of see it wasn't that bad to begin with. But you know, as soon as I see rust appearing, because I'm super annoying like that, I like to stay on top of it, right? It's obsessive almost. If I see any orange coming out, I'm all right, back to that was fun. Yeah, be careful with the paint, and don't put the stuff on too thick. On the pin itself, it's a very smooth surface, so there's not a lot of adhesion that's going to happen. In other words, if you scrape it, it's going to kind of brush off, and you'll see that chrome underneath it, and that's fine. You could leave it chrome as well. But if you are indeed trying to cover up the rust, think about putting a layer of black rust reformer on it. And we're just going to go through here, and we're going to put a couple of coats on, making sure the first one is dry before the second is applied. And this stuff dries relatively fast, especially on if there's airflow happening, like on a windy day. And we're going to turn the can and just try to get it in there as best possible. This can does spray for upside down or from a variety of angles. And I have a mask as well. And I'm making sure that no paint ends up on the car. I have a rag handy just in case. You can see the fumes kind of coming up there. So do this outside preferably. And we'll just go through and hit any rust spots that we see and notice. And it looks pretty shiny, new black, uniform, covered, a couple of coats. I'm pretty happy with that. Now this piece, you'll notice I'm turning, rotating, letting it dry. Don't try to save time here and do it all at once. That's going to be a hot mess for you. And then I'll go ahead and just spray the cap as well. There's no benefit, obviously plastic doesn't rust, but I'm looking for color matching here. And I'll just, and that was cleaned obviously before, so that's looking pretty good, I think. And like I said, it dries quickly, so this is vehicle 1. Nice and dry. It's kind of got a matte finish. Can you see that? So you can maybe look for like I don't know if they sell the stuff in like a glossy finish or not. And you can try to clear the nozzle, but like I said, this can sprays upside down, so I didn't really, I'm going to let this stuff sit for a year maybe. I wanted to clear that nozzle out. Didn't have too much luck. There was still paint coming out upside down, so I think that's a good thing, but maybe bad if I open it up in a year's time. And it generally does work well in the next year. I think after, 2 or 3 uses, 3 or 4 uses, you might have to just buy a new can. And we'll get that pin secured back and put the cap in the receiver. And you could see night and day difference, right? That looks pretty nice. It wasn't super bad before, like I said, but that is how I do it. Again, you could keep that pin that secures your cap in there, stainless steel, and just maybe, you know, don't have it in there during the winter so it doesn't get rusty. But I'm spray painting mine, and some of the paint might come off as I wiggle it and push through there, but I'm happy with that. I think that looks overall a lot better than having some rust streaks in the stainless steel piece. It's kind of all matching, and hopefully that'll prevent further rust spread from happening as well. So I'm liking it, looking pretty tight, clean, uniform, and rust-free, baby. So we'll stop that video there. Hopefully that's helped you out. Click the like button, of course, and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it.